Summary of Candide by Voltaire. The barony of Thunder-ten-Tronckh is where a young guy named Candide lives. There, the philosopher Pangloss teaches him that the world we live in is the best of all possible worlds. One day, Cunegonde, the daughter of the baron, sees Pangloss having sex with Paquette, the chambermaid of her mother. She decides to do the same thing, so she goes to see Candide. The two are caught kissing, which is a shame. The baron kicks Candide out of Thunder-ten-Tronckh because he is angry. Candide goes from place to place until he is tricked into joining the Bulgarian army by two soldiers. He does well in military drills, but he runs away from the first fight like a coward. Candide goes to Holland because he has heard that it is a wealthy place. There, he asks for money, but most of the time he doesn't get any. When a Protestant speaker won't say that the Pope is the Antichrist, his wife dumps a chamber pot on his head. In the end, the helpful Anabaptist Jacques takes him in. Soon after, he runs into Pangloss, who has syphilis and is sick. Jacques takes in Pangloss and pays for him to get better. Pangloss gets sick and loses an eye and an ear, but he lives. As they go to Lisbon, the three talk about philosophical ideas. As soon as they get to the Bay of Lisbon, a terrible storm starts. The ship goes down, killing Jacques the Anabaptist. Pangloss and Candide float to shore, but as soon as they get there, the terrible Lisbon earthquake happens, killing thousands. Candide and Pangloss make it out alive, but they are soon arrested by the Inquisition, which is having an auto da fe, a public festival for punishing heretics, to try to stop earthquakes from happening again. Candide is flogged in front of everyone, and Pangloss is hung. Candide loses hope and starts to doubt Pangloss's positive ideas. Candide meets an old woman who takes him to a house in the country. There, he meets Cunegonde again. The Grand Inquisitor and a Jewish trader named Don Issachar are having sexual relations with Cunegonde. Soon after, both Don Issachar and the Grand Inquisitor come into the house, and Candide kills each of them as he comes in. Candide, Cunegonde, and the old woman run all the way to Buenos Aires, which is in South America. There, Candide is put in charge of a military company that is being put together for the war against the rebellious Jesuits in Paraguay. Don Fernando, who is the governor, wants Cunegonde to stay with him as his lover. Candide and Cacambo run away when they hear that the Killer Inquisitor's followers are about to land in Buenos Aires. Cacambo takes Candide to the kingdom of the Jesuits, where he finds out that the Reverend Commandant is actually the young Baron of Thunder-ten-Tronckh. When Candide says he wants to marry Cunegonde, the Baron's sister, the mood of their tearful meeting takes an unexpected turn. Out of anger, the Baron attacks Candide, and in self-defense, Candide stabs him in the gut. Candide breaks down in tears because he has now killed 3 people. Candide and Cacambo run away from the Jesuit kingdom and go into the wild. There, they make a mistake that gets them caught by the wild Oriollons, who think they are Jesuits and are about to eat them. Because Cacambo is so charming, the Oriollons let them go. Candide and Cacambo spend a long time wandering around in the wild. They get to El Dorado by chance, which is a perfect place with happy people and precious metals. Candide comes to the conclusion that this must be the best of all possible worlds, as Pangloss put it. Candide and Cacambo are happy in El Dorado, but their desire for fame and glory makes them leave. The king of El Dorado helps them leave the isolated place. As a farewell gift, he gives them a lot of money and a group of red sheep. A few days after Candide and Cacambo leave El Dorado, they meet an African slave who is missing his left hand and leg. Candide sends Cacambo to look for Cunegonde because he knows he will be caught if he goes back to Buenos Aires. He promises to meet Cacambo in Venice. Candide goes to Suriname and tries to set up a way to get back to Europe. He is tricked by Meneer Vanderdender, the owner of the ship, who steals his group of sheep and leaves him. At this point, Candide is almost ready to give up on hope for good. Still, Candide is able to plan a trip to Bordeaux with Martin, a poor scholar and pessimist who he picks as his travel partner. 2 ships fight on the way there, and one of Candide's red sheep floats up living from the wreckage. He thinks this is a good sign. Candide and Martin get to Bordeaux, and from there, they go to Paris. Candide is tricked and robbed in Paris by the cunning and shallow Abbé of Périgord and Marchioness of Paralignac, as well as by a number of smaller characters. Candide and Martin spend a short time in England before going to Venice. There, Candide finds Paquette in the arms of Friar Giroflée. She has turned into a prostitute. Candide and Martin go to the home of Pococurante, a rich senator from Venice who is unhappy with everything he has. Soon after that, they have dinner with 6 ousted kings. Candide meets Cacambo at the dinner, and Cacambo tells him that Cunegonde is a worker in Turkey. Martin, Candide, and Cacambo go to Turkey. They find Pangloss and the young baron, who are both slaves, on the ship that takes them there. Candide pays for them both to be set free. He does the same for Cunegonde and the old woman when he gets to Turkey. After long journeys and lots of bad luck, all of the main players have finally met up again. Even though Cunegonde has turned out to be ugly, Candide still wants to marry her. When her brother, the Baron, doesn't agree, they send him back to Rome against his will. They get married, and then everyone else moves to a small farm. There, people complain about their bad luck and talk about ideas for hours. One day, Candide meets an old Turkish farmer who has a yard that he and his children take care of. The man seems to be happy with his life than Candide and the other characters. Because of him, Candide decides to give up on the endless questions of theory and turn to work instead. He comes to the conclusion that while we are living, we must cultivate our garden.
About the author. François-Marie Arouet, known by his pen name Voltaire, was born in 1694 to a family with a lot of power in the French royal system. His real name was François-Marie Arouet. Voltaire's father wanted him to become a powerful public figure, but Voltaire went against his wishes by becoming a writer. In 1718, with the release of the tragedy Oedipe, he made his start in the literary world. Voltaire got into trouble many times in his life because of what he wrote. He went into exile in England in 1726 to avoid being charged with slander and stayed there for a long time. There, he stayed at the home of Lord Bolingbroke, where he met writers like Jonathan Swift, Alexander Pope, John Gay, and others. During the time Voltaire spent in England, he learned about Newtonian science and other novel ideas of the time. When he went back to France, he used his philosophical and satirical works to fight against hydras and superstition. This made him a lot of enemies, especially in the government and the religious system, which was run by the Jesuits. By the time he died in 1778, Voltaire was a national hero in France. Voltaire was a part of the Enlightenment, which was a time of new ideas. The French Revolution, which was still to come, was the end of the Enlightenment. Since then, he has become even more famous, and Candide is still the most taught piece of French literature in the world.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.